Hello.
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 Let's go!
Hey, kids.
Hey, Dad.
War crimes will be prosecuted.
Let's head out of Liberty City. Burn it to the ground.
Does the word mean anything to you?
Yeah, I chose this profession, so therefore I earned beer.
You want to go to the matinee?
The feeling is definitely there.
You don't know my name!
It's a new morning in America.
This is the old dude, Howard J. Reynolds. Step into my office.
Not going to be too many punks.
Don't you stop worrying about the punk?
You, that's my name.
Yeah, let's go to the punk rock show.
Introducing, for your listening pleasure.
Here it is. Here we go. High Fives podcast episode 73. Michael, g'day.
Good day, Nate. How are you?
Do you know that's hello in Australian?
I had an inkling.
It's also short for good day.
Yeah, that makes sense. It all tracks.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, that things track.
How are you going?
I'm going well, I think. It's Sunday night. We made it through the weekend.
Made it through the weekend. That
You know,
doesn't sound
like-
like a very good weekend.
Nate,
I can't wait till Monday when I can go to work.
I think every day is just a make it through now until like things sort of start getting back to normal, because it doesn't feel like I keep getting like glimmers of hope of normal, and then it's like a kick in the nuts that it's not. So I'm just making it through the days.
I think once you embrace that, like, we're going to be here for like years to come, like not in this exact spot, but in a variation of this exact spot.
I can't do that,
It gets
Nate.
easier.
I can't do that. I
No?
gotta be, and I'm more pessimistic than the average person. If I get to that level, I think it'll just kill me. Up until this last few months, I was doing really well with like just being like, this is it. I don't really need to see people. We can chat on the phone and text and the occasional like video chat. I can do this. But now I'm starting to be like, I could really just like go for a coffee with somebody. Like,
Yeah.
I've hit that point. So it took a lot longer than the average person who like couldn't handle 3 weeks of it. And they're like, oh, fuck, man, I'm going to go nuts if I don't have a beer with some buddies.
Where's that guy right now?
I'm pretty sure he's got a mask or a no mask sign saying masks kill you. And the pandemic is a hoax. So before we start our topic, we just wanted to put out a little disclaimer because we're going to talk about a little bit about death in this topic.
Not a little. It'll probably be,
Well, the whole
be a
episode,
lot.
the whole episode's about death. So I understand it's been a crazy time and there's a lot of death and a lot of suffering going on. I'm sure many of you have been touched by it. So if you're uncomfortable, we just wanted to give you a heads up before we started talking about any of this stuff. And feel free to not listen and join us next episode, or listen and hopefully it's not chaotic for you. Anyway, that's our sort of disclaimer. We're not professionals. We didn't have a lawyer write it.
I think it was good, Mike. I think
Thanks, Nate.
I think it got the message out there. So, without further ado, episode 73, top 5 songs about death.
Nate, have you experienced a lot of death in your life?
I haven't really. You know, like I've known people to die and I've gone to funerals. But I don't, like, nobody kind of like super close that you weren't expecting to die. You know, like in the sense that like grandparents are old and they die, you know, and but I haven't had anybody, not to say I haven't had anybody, but I haven't had the amount that I think some people have.
Yeah, like that's the interesting thing for me is I've really not had anybody close to me die. My grandpa passed away, but unfortunately, like I just didn't get to know my grandpa because he lived in Croatia and we didn't have like access to phones and stuff at the time. And by the time he did, and like there was a language barrier. So like, I mean, it's sad. I mean, and I felt bad, but I didn't know him. So I didn't have that connection. And then like there's people I know, but again, like I've been to funerals, but no one I know. And like my grandpa right now is getting closer to death and I'm close with him.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of preparing myself, but up until now, it's basically been like pop culture has been my dealing with death, which is like really sad in like, I don't really know if I'm prepared for it. And because my family were immigrants,
Right.
We didn't have other people dying in our family here. Like we had people in Croatia die, but no one here. So it's just like everything's sort of new, or like it's like weird, like place to be in when you know someone's gonna die in like within years or months or whatever, and you're just like, I don't know, I've never dealt with this. We'll see what happens. Have you thought about your own mortality? Do you have like a plan for you, like for when you die? Like, do you have like a song you want played, or like have you thought about what you want for a funeral or anything like that?
Wow.
Or is that too macabre?
No, I don't think it's macabre. I think it's, something that everyone thinks about to a certain degree. I don't know. Like I've always kind of been very like, I don't want a party. I don't want a funeral. And I've had some people close to me be like, dude, those things aren't for you. Like they're for people to grieve you. So, I mean, to the extent of like, what do I want? I don't really have a preference or a care. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I guess it depends how you think about where you're going after this life, after this world. And I'm one of the people that think you disintegrate into the ground in whatever fashion you're put there. So, there's no real like desire for anything kind of once it's over.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, like I have sort of a similar thing. I mean, I'm a little bit more faith-based, which is just, again, that's my own thing. It's nothing to do with anybody else. I'm definitely one of those people that's like, you do your own thing, whatever makes you feel better.
Yeah.
But I also don't want like a big funeral, or like, well, I don't care about the funeral because I do understand that's for other people. But I always thought I always found it ridiculous that people spent like crazy amounts of money on like a coffin or how you look in the thing. And I'm just
yeah.
I would rather give that like $50,000 to someone else, or like at very least give it to charity. So I don't care if you just toss me on the side of the road. Like I don't give a shit. I know that sounds awful, but
I don't think you can actually do that.
No, you can't. Anyway, so I've told people this, and my mom lost her mind when I was just like, I don't care. Like just burn me. I don't care. Throw me in like with like in a mass grave. Like I just don't care. And then I started coming up with like things just to like irk my parents or other people close to me. Like I said for a while that when I die, I want to come in, like I want like the coffin to be carried in with like, from wrestling, Shawn Michaels song, like Sexy Boy. I want when the doors open to that to be played.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I think
a walk-in song.
Yeah. Or like, I started saying I wanted like a random plaque somewhere placed in the city, but just totally random, not somewhere I hung out or anything. Just be like, because I always think when you walk by, I'm like, why did that guy get a plaque?
Right. Like the side of an art store or something.
Just like anywhere, and just be like, who was Mike?
Right.
Wow, he got a plaque.
Maybe like a manhole cover.
Yeah, anything. Just be like, but I don't want it to be like in memory of Mike. Just be like, just like very random, and be like, this bench says Mike. Who's this Mike guy? What did he do?
Or like Mike sat here once.
Yeah, or something like really random like that. He was a rad dude.
That's funny. I like the idea of like maybe somebody being able to come visit me in some fashion, but like I'm with you on like the whole coffin and like the elaborate money that gets spent on things like that. Like I think that, and I don't know where, if they have them in like even in the city, but like I know that there are places that you can just kind of like be put in a shroud or like a blanket and then just like put into the ground.
Oh yeah, they have that for sure. There's some there's religions that are based solely on that don't do.
Well,
that.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'm not that religion, but
yeah,
I like that idea of just
that's fine with me. I'm like, put me in and like let me go into the earth and do whatever.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I started thinking about songs and like what would be a good like out song after I went to my old boss's funeral, and he had Neil Young playing, and ever since then I'm like, every time I hear Neil Young, I think about Mike's funeral, and I'm like, because like I don't know, like Catholic funerals, you're not allowed pop culture songs, right? Like it's like hymn songs and stuff. So I got to figure a way, a loophole around that. If I'm still,
if you're gonna get Shawn, well, maybe just like make sure Shawn Michaels gets into sainthood.
Oh yeah,
and then you're covered, right? That should be easier than doing something
He's
like
not your boy
having
toy.
A non-faith based
that
funeral.
That should help the church right away. He's a boy toy.
Wow.
Wah, 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 bad Catholic.
So I'm guessing that you went like the dark and depressing road on these song choices.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. Okay.
No.
Some of them.
Some of them.
A good mixture.
It's a good mixture. I mean, there's lots of aspects to death, right? In
that's
music, there's lots of ways you could go.
I used a lot of my like go-tos, like the songs that came to me right away. Maybe songs that I'd thought about having at my own funeral someday.
Oh,
all those songs I've had like appear in lists already. So I had to go on a deeper dive.
I like this. I like that you went on a dive. Before we do that, we should hear what you've been listening to, Nate.
I was curious how you were going to make that segue happen from super like dark, depressed. Like that's the saddest preamble we've ever had.
Oh, wow. I talked about Shawn Michaels.
That's true. That's still,
we're one step away from saying suck it. And doing like a X across our crotch.
I think that was just you, Mike.
Well, that's if you pay for the video version of this chat, you get to see that.
Right.
I am wearing pajama pants right now, so it's really sexy.
What have I been listening to, Michael? A surprise release, at least to me, the new Lost Love, Empathy.
Ooh, that just came out too.
Was that one surprising to you?
The full length was. They had released 2 or 3 singles before, but I thought they were just one-off, like pandemic. We had nothing better else.
Right. So. The old "we had nothing better else." Nothing better else.
That's English for you.
The best part is I copied it.
Yeah, I know.
From
That's why. That's awesome.
It's some Canadian content for the show, based out of Montreal. What category would you lump Lost Love into, Mike? I know that you're a big genre guy, as I've described before.
They're kind of.
Is it orgcore?
Parts of it, yeah, but parts are kind of like
core.
Parts are kind of like indie rock punk kind of stuff too, right? Like,
yeah,
I see that. A little bit of power pop in there too. Like they get a little bit of everything.
I think it's a very like it's a sound unto theirs. Like it's not like. You know, I think there are bands that you could certainly compare them to, like New Swears kind of comes to mind, but it's not like they sound like New Swears. It's just of that genre, let's say.
Yeah, I get that. That's why I'm saying like it's like kind of like it's indie rock, but it's also punk. It's also pop punk. So it's like it's like a amalgamation of that kind of stuff. It's kind of like often when you toss pop punk in there, it sounds like it's immature. And this, I would say, is like a mature version of that, right? Like,
yeah,
but not orgcore mature, where like,
right? That's too much. That's
you're not
too
Chuck
mature.
Reagan fishing,
right?
But you're headed there.
At any rate, it's an excellent follow-up to 2018's Good Luck Roscoe. I've only listened to it a couple of times because it just came out, but I think it's already proving to be what I'd hoped their next record would be.
Awesome.
The next one, Mike, is also another new one, hot off the presses. It's a band called The World is a Beautiful Place, and I Am No Longer Afraid to Die, which kind of ties nicely into this whole topic.
Does.
Illusory? I can't believe I'm asking you this.
Illusionary?
No, there's no jeune. It's just ILLUSORY.
Don't ask me, man.
Yeah, walls. Illusory walls, let's call it that.
All right.
This one's interesting because it's recorded and written remotely, which, okay, lots of bands did that. But this album is so incredibly detailed and layered. And, you know, like for some bands, I'm like, yeah, okay, you wrote and recorded that and like it's pretty straightforward. But this kind of music and this band specifically, I find it really extraordinary that they were able to write and record remotely.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. There's so many people in that band and there's so much going on. Like there's like choir elements and orchestra-y kind of
That's
stuff.
what I mean.
That's a lot to do remotely. That's impressive, actually. That makes me like that album even more. And I've liked it so far, like the few times I've listened to it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's a crazy diverse record. Lots of different flavor on it. I would say it's got kind of a rock opera feeling to it. Would you agree with that? Have you had time to listen to it yet?
Yeah, I see it. They kind of have that feel to them anyway.
Sure.
I enjoyed this one a lot more than their last album. Like,
Okay.
I really liked their first album.
Yeah.
And then the last one, I was like, that's a little bit of the same. This one feels like it's a little bit, well, I was going to say like more put together, but that's even crazier because of the whole recording process then. That's
It's
awesome.
wild. My next choice is a choice cut that you sent my way. Me the Guts. Split guts over rough cuts.
Love a name like that.
A little more CanCon from Saskatoon. They've been around since like 2015, and this is my first time hearing of them. Is this a recent find for you?
Very recent. I didn't know them before either. Wouldn't have known they were from 2015 even. Look at you.
They've got like a fast, aggressive, straight ahead kind of 90s punk, but like with a current sound, like current day sound. Like I wouldn't say it's like it sounds like that time, but it definitely pulls from that time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they definitely have that I thought it was almost more epitaphy, but like yeah, it doesn't sound like it came out in 96. It sounds like it's the newer version of that.
Yeah. I would say like hints of Propaganda, hints of like Wilhelm Scream in there as well.
Yeah.
We got two more choice cuts.
Do you know how hard it is for me to edit the Instagram when you've got 5 instead
Do
of
you just
4?
want me to do 4?
No, just do 5.
I can just do 4.
No, just do 5. I'm
easy.
I'm bugging you, Nate.
These will be quick. One of them's Capgun Heroes, Last Call for Adderall. Very Ramones core. There is nothing new or groundbreaking here, but like a super fun listen. Like I really enjoyed this record. It's good tunes. It's fun. It's catchy. It's their first full length off Hey Pizza Records. So I would say if you like that record label, if you like the offerings from them, you will probably like this record too. Kittner is the last one, Shake the Spins. I didn't realize this is their first full length. I don't know why, other than maybe I've just heard a lot about them over the last year or two. But anyways, their first debut, Top Shelf Records. It's just got like a real sincere, genuine feeling about it. It's just a really good collection of songs that feel like they're from like that early 2000s emo scene. Really layered album. I've been listening to this a lot, and I figured this would be a good segue into your listening to section, Mike, because I believe you've been listening to them as well.
I actually have been listening to the Kittner album as well, so that was a perfect segue into my list. And you're
welcome.
And you may have heard of them because I've played them on the show.
That's it. It's you, Mike. It's all you.
It's always me. But
you are the show.
But I really liked the EP, and at the time, I believe it was members of Choke Up and Save Ends. I'm not sure who's left from the original release, and not like there's been a little bit of a changeover, and you can tell in the sound it's a little bit more. Well, I mean, the other sound is the same sort of. I mean, it's just because it's a full
evolved. It's a little more evolved.
I think you get a homage to like Get Up Kids, The Anniversary.
Yeah.
And then vocally, it's a lot of Bright Eyes and Despacitos, which is the vocals sound eerily similar.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it was definitely worth the wait. It's a great album, and it's cool that it's getting a lot of hype because it's rare when a side project turns into something all these years later, and it's like getting a lot of hype. Next one I was listening to is the Face to Face, No Way But Through.
Nice.
I'm super shocked at how much I like this album. Like, I don't hate Face to Face like a lot of people do, but I don't love them either. And
also, like a lot of people do.
Yeah. And it's not a knock on the band, but I'm just like, I've never been gaga over them. I like their albums. I like. What are you laughing at?
Gaga.
Yeah.
I like that.
But it's kind of like that Good Riddance album, the last one that came out. It's just like this one feels like a return to their best work.
Yeah.
Without sounding like they're just trying to do their best work again. Like it sounds like a fresh version of it. So. Really into
that.
Next one's the Illuminati Hotties. Let me do one more.
Great album. I knew you were going to bring this one up. I've been listening to this one pretty steady lately.
It's awesome. Like
really good.
She's just such a great songwriter and producer. So it's so good. A lot of fun. If you're into that indie rock kind of punk stuff, I'd suggest picking it up.
It's got that Riot Girl spirit to it as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it's just it's a little bit of everything, and it's awesome. Last one is a band from Atlanta called Turn Cold, and the album's Break Your Faith. It's a thrash crossover band. They're a newer band that's formed as a result of the pandemic, and they wrote the album to reflect that. If you're into those kind of bands, this EP's a ripper. So that's it. That's what I've been listening to, Nate.
Break the Faith, not to be confused with Mike Condik's Shawn Michaels themed funeral.
Just the entrance. Like, if you came out to that, just think about this. You come out to that, everyone would be like, is he coming out of the coffin? What's up?
I love how you say if you came out to that at your funeral. Like, I just picture like two guys Weekend with Bernie walking you down the aisle.
Like, everyone's solemn, and you turn around and like the intro to that song, we might have to find a bit of it to put it into this just so you can get a feel of it. There's like jungle noises and then it's just like, I don't know. I want to see that somewhere.
I feel like your explanation is better than it could possibly be.
Probably. I'm assuming people don't want to be like laughing when they're like there to mourn me.
It's the tone you set, Mike.
Yeah.
Let's get to the list. I decided I think most of my list is more on the depressing side. So I thought, well, let's lean into that a little bit. Not into the like let's start slow.
Yeah.
Let's not dive right into depressing songs. So I'm going to choose my song more on the humorous side.
Nice.
You might be asking, how can you find the humor in death, Nate? Well, I found it on an album called Hitler Bad, Vandals Good. It's a song by the Vandals, and the song is My Girlfriend's Dead.
Oh, perfect. I didn't even think about this one.
I love this song. I love this album, too. I've talked about this album before, and it often brings up a lot of chatter about what the greatest Vandals album is. This is it. I love this album. I love this song. It just, the idea of like being so fed up with people asking you, hey, how's your girlfriend? Hey, what's going on in your relationship? It's almost less awkward to say that she's dead instead of we broke up. You know, like I like the spirit of that.
She dumped me, but you know. Vandals are so polarizing, hey? And do you think it's because of they're part of those old punks that are like, they don't have the same moral compass, I guess, as the genre went on?
I don't know. Maybe I think part of it is like a lot of people tend to like it's like Bad Religion or NoFX. Like people really like their early catalog and then don't like their later catalog. And I feel like although this probably comes right in the middle, it's definitely not of their earlier vibe.
Yeah. Their earlier vibe is way more punk, right? Like
just fast and like grinding. Yeah. As opposed to like more, kind of melodic, and this album's very different, but like I say, one of my favorites.
Also mine, it would be my favorite Vandals album as well.
There you go. Look at that. Yeah. We're agreeing.
Yeah, for sure.
The Vandals brought us together.
Ugh, no one's ever said that.
Never.
For my pick, I went with a cover song, and it's Against Me's version of People Who Died.
By the Jim Carroll Band?
Yeah. So
nice.
So the funny thing about the Jim Carroll Band is I didn't know that the Jim Carroll Band was the same Jim Carroll that was the writer of the Basketball Diaries.
Yeah.
And I like literally didn't know that until I heard this cover a few years ago. I was like, really? What? So that's embarrassing for me. But I love the song. I love the original song. But I thought the cover worked really well for this. And because it came on a compilation, Songs That Saved Your Life, that's what it's called.
Okay.
And I read an interesting thing from Laura Jane Grace about this, and she wrote, choosing to cover a song that is filled with death to be featured on a compilation dedicated to the thought that music can save your life seemed completely fitting to me. I've always thought music was about taking all the sadness, pain, fear, and trouble that you have weighing on you and turning it into something empowering, celebratory, and life-affirming. So I thought that was a good way to kick off our episode. So
when Basketball Diaries came out, like I don't want to say obsessed with it, but like I really, really liked that movie and like kind of learned everything about it. Like I read the book shortly after, and then I got a bunch of Jim Carroll's like poetry because I just thought it was such a.
I mean, that's not like you to watch a movie or read a book and then go all in. And I've never seen that with you. I'm surprised you're not wearing Leafs gear today after our conversation about watching the Leafs.
Easy. Yeah, I totally got big into this, into Jim Carroll's life.
Especially when it came out, we were in high school, right? Or just after high school? No, we were in high school. We must have been in high school, right? Or junior high.
I think it was like high school or junior high. Yeah. I saw that movie in theater with my parents, which was an awkward moment for sure.
I also did not see Basketball Diaries until I was like in my 30s, which is also a weird thing. So I don't know why. I think I was just, I didn't like in typical Mike fashion. I was like, oh, people love this movie. I'm not going to watch it.
Right. But it was an indie, I think.
Yeah, I think it was just a Mike thing.
Yeah, just a Mike thing. Did you know that Jim Carroll is also the guy who recites the poem in Junkie Man?
I did not know that. You're full of facts. Yeah. Look at this.
That's Jim Carroll.
There you go.
And I feel like maybe Junkie Man is even about Jim Carroll.
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense.
It's a wild story, man.
It is a crazy story.
I think like partly too was like we just didn't hear those kinds of stories in movies like at that time. You know, like now it's not that uncommon to see a movie about a junkie, but like at that time, especially such a young guy. And like say what you want about DiCaprio, he's a great fucking actor.
Yeah, he's totally one of those people who I'm always like, I don't care for him. And then you watch his movie, you're like, fuck, he was good in that. Damn it.
He's so good every time. It doesn't matter. He's so good.
And you don't want to like him, but fuck, he's good. He's good at what he does.
Give it up to Mark Wahlberg in that movie.
He's also one of those
just people, name dropping.
He's also one of those people that I really loathe Mark Wahlberg, but he's generally good in movies too. And you're just like, fuck, why do?
Yeah, I see why you hated this or didn't want to come around to this movie.
Yeah.
My Girlfriend's Dead by the Vandals and
Against Me, People Who Died.
I once had a girlfriend, but then one day she dumped me, and everywhere I go, people would ask me where she was. I don't wanna talk about her, someone always asks about her, so I tell them all my girlfriend's dead. I say it's leukemia, or sometimes bulimia, or a great big truck ran her over and chopped off her head. I don't wanna talk about her, someone always asks about her, so I tell them all she's dead. I guess there's a part of me that lacks the sympathy, or the looks on their faces when I tell them how she passed away. I don't wanna talk about her, but someone always asks about her, so I tell them all she's dead. My girlfriend's dead. My girlfriend's dead, you see. It's a total lie, but it's easier on me than having to admit that she likes someone else. My girlfriend's dead. My girlfriend's dead, you know. Please change the subject, I'm going to go jump off a building and join her in heaven. I don't wanna talk about her, but someone always asks about her, so I tell them all she's dead. I once had a girlfriend, but then one day she dumped me, and everywhere I go, people would ask me where she was. I don't wanna talk about her, but someone always asks about her, so I tell them all my girlfriend's dead. I don't wanna talk about her, but someone always asks about her, so I tell them all my girlfriend's dead.
Teddy sleeping grew, he was 12 years old, fell from the roof on East 29. Kathy was 11 when they pulled the plug, 26 Reds and a bottle of wine. got leukemia, 14 years old. He looked like 65 when he died. He was a friend of mine. Those are people who died, died. 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 They're all my friends. They just died. G-Berg and Georgie let their gimmicks go rotten, so they died of hepatitis in Upper Manhattan. Sly in Vietnam, bullet in the head. Bobby OD'd on Drano on the night he was wed. They were two more friends of mine. Two more friends, they died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died. They were all my friends, and then they died. Carrie took a dry dive from a hotel room while he hung himself from a cell in the Tombs. Judy jumped in front of a subway train. Eddie got slit in the jugular vein. And Eddie, I miss you more than all the others. And I salute you, brother. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Oh, those are people who died, died. They're all my friends when they died. Herbie pushed Tony from the boys club roof. Tony thought his rage was just some goof, but Herbie sure gave Tony some bitchin' proof. And Herbie said, Tony, can you fly? But Tony couldn't fly. Tony died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died. They're all my friends. They just died. Brian got busted on a narco rap, beat the rap by ratting on some bikers. He said, hey, I know it's dangerous, but it sure beats Rikers. The next day, he got offed by the very same bikers. Those are people who died, died. 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 They're all my friends. They all died. Teddy sniffing glue, he was 12 years old and fell from the roof on East 29. Kathy was 11 when she pulled the plug, 26 leads in a bottle of wine. Bobby got leukemia at 14 years old, he looked like 65 when he died. He was a friend of mine. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Oh, those are people who died, died. Those are people who died. They're all my friends, they just died. G-Berg and Georgie let their gimmicks go rotten, so they died of hepatitis in Upper Manhattan. Sly in Vietnam took a bullet in the head. Bobby OD'd on Drano on the night that he was wed. They were two more friends of mine. I miss them, they died. But those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Oh, those are people who died, died. Those are people who died. They're all my friends, and then they died. Carrie took a dry dive from a hotel room. Bobby hung himself from a cell in the Tombs. Judy jumped in front of a subway train. Eddie got slit in the jugular vein. And Eddie, I miss you more than all the others. This song's for you, my brother. Those are people who died, died. 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 They're all my friends. They all died. Those are people who died, 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 died. They're all my friends, and they all died.
All right, Nate, what's your second pick?
It's gonna get a little sad now, Mike.
You gotta
The
get sad.
Fun time's over. This song is from 2014.
Mm-hmm.
It is a song by a band called The Hotelier. off of the album Home Like No Place Is There.
Mm-hmm.
And the song is called Your Deep Rest.
Yes, this is a great song.
It is a great song. And I almost shied away from this song because that's kind of what we do, right? Like whenever there's some kind of like reference or point to suicide, you know, that's the first reaction is, you know, to shy away. And, you know, because you don't want to trigger somebody or, you know, because it's still got this like taboo kind of, I don't know, this taboo vibe about it, right? But I think like, isn't it just as important to talk about it? And I think that, you know, that's something that lots of people are trying to do now, to bring awareness to it and you know, to talk about it before, you know, things get so bad.
For sure, Nate. I think that's so important these days. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, and again, I want to clarify, like I've never got to that point, but since it became like more
normalized,
yeah. Like I've noticed stuff about me that, and I'm sure we've had this conversation off air. Like it's just like, once things are normalized, it's easier to talk about stuff that you maybe would have like pinned down.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I think that applies definitely to suicide and stuff like that. And hopefully people know that there's always someone there for someone. You might never feel that way, but I think if there's anything that I've learned over these years as it's become more vocal is that there was always someone who cared. So hopefully that people understand that. And it's easy to sit here and say that to you, but hopefully at some point these people understand that. And I think the more you talk about things, like you said, the more you normalize it and don't sweep it under the rug, I think you get to a point where it's better.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, you know, at the very least, talking about it, you know, creating those conversations, much better than not.
Yes.
And I think there's more available to people as well, right? You know, I think that there's that awareness has brought a lot of, like, you see a lot of people posting about like, reach out to me, you know, I'm here for anybody, you know, because it is so important to know that there are people.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like, I mean, obviously it's epidemic in the world, but it seems like punk, the genre, and maybe it's because it's a community, even as big as it is now, you still get the sense that there's a community. So when someone is hurting, it becomes more vocal, to amplified in the scene.
Yeah.
And like, I think there was a lot of songs that when I was going through this, things that I never even caught maybe, and you could tell they're homages to like friends that had left too soon because of this and stuff like that. So
yeah. I mean, I feel fortunate that I've not had to go through, you know, losing a friend like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't imagine having to lose somebody like that. And you know, but I know a good amount of people that have had to navigate through that. You know, seeing posts on Instagram and things like that. And yeah, it's sad. It's just it seems like, yeah, I'm just gonna park it there, I think.
Yeah, you just park it. Park it. I think we dealt with it. It's a great song. I honestly didn't know that was about suicide.
I mean, I dove into the lyrics today, and
it probably is.
I mean, it's very raw. It's very frank. It's very like it's what happens afterwards, you know, and kind of that friend reflecting on their friend, right? And feeling guilty about not seeing the signs and all those sorts of things that I'm sure come with reflecting on somebody whose life was lost that way. So I was listening to this song today, and it just, like I say, I haven't had to deal with anything like that, you know, personally, but it's still just like, it hits you hard in the gut.
Well, Nathan, I'm going to stick with the sad.
Okay.
Because the next song that I picked is also a very sad song, I think, anyway. It's a band called State Lines. Do you know State Lines at all?
Maybe.
So I don't know. I didn't know a ton about them. Their album is Hoffman Manor. It came out in 2011. I only came across them because I had become a big fan of Oso Oso, and the singer from Oso Oso formed this after State Lines broke up. But from what I could tell after is that this kind of album, Hoffman Manor, is one of those like underground punk albums in those scenes, like the early days of message boards and stuff like that in the punk rock world, that like got a lot of hype, but never really like encompassed out of Long Island or that area from there. But like everyone knew who they were. But Oso made it big, which is kind of weird.
Huh.
So there's a song on there called Cancer, which is what I picked. And the song always stood out to me because it was probably one of the sadder songs I've ever heard about death. And apparently it was written from his mother's point of view as she watched her dad die of cancer.
Oh.
But the lyrics are so descriptive. It almost feels like you know the person dying. And again,
right.
having never really dealt with it, like it's weird how you could thrust yourself in a story and just feel like the pain or like what the person's going through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my sad song.
It's hard to transition
from sad songs. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't mean that. I mean, it's hard to transition from, you know, somebody says something like kind of like heavy and sad. And then you're like, now what do I say? How do I fill that silence? You know what I mean? Even though like we're just talking about songs about sad things. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's a weird, I mean, again, that's some of the reasons I wanted to put the disclaimer in when we were talking. It's just it's a weird episode to do. But yeah, I think I get what you're saying.
Your Deep Rest, The Hotelier, and
State Lines, Cancer.
Desperate wishing to be over. sweetie, don't let them in. No, don't you dare open. Are you tired of breathing heavily when you're laying in bed at night trying to sleep? Well, I'll let you go if you suffer.
My next song's about cancer as well. I feel like there's probably a lot of sad songs about cancer.
Yeah, it's a shitty thing that unfortunately a lot of people are touched by.
It is a motherfucker, man. And like, I think now they say it's like 1 in 2 people are affected by cancer.
Yeesh.
Like, that's wild.
That's crazy.
1 in 2. Like, I don't know. It is crazy. And, you know, I mean, that's how a lot of the people in my life have gone away was through cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, typically older people, but
still, it doesn't diminish it.
So, I mean, I encountered this album, which is a super heavy album. It's Stage 4 by Touche Amore. And I think we've talked about this album on here before. It's a really heavy album. It's about Jeremy Boehm's mom dying of cancer and kind of his, I would say, like, it's almost like listening to somebody's journal entries through like a really horrific year. This album came out in 2016. I know, like, you know, some of our friends really like related to this, knowing or having parents that had died of cancer. Mm-hmm. The song I chose, I mean, you really could have chosen any song off this album, but I felt like, you know, timing wise and everything, the song I chose was New Halloween.
It's an amazing song. It's an amazing album. I'm glad you picked it. I was going to pick this album and I was like, I hope I didn't, because I thought you would. And I'm glad you did, because the context of it is awesome. Is like impressive that somebody took the time to write an album this solid about something so personal. And for me personally, like I didn't like the band before this, and it really changed my opinion about them. And I don't know. I love this album. I'm surprised when you said the date there. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. But it's still a really good listen. And New Halloween is the cream of the crop on that album.
You know, with songs about death, I think people come across as more grieving than they do as like, and sad, than they do as like angry. You know, and so much of this album has a lot of anger built into it. And I think part of that is, you know, the style of music that Touche Amore is, which I think is really interesting because, again, like you don't really, to have some like songs this aggressive one after another really does emphasize that anger, that feeling, that rawness, right?
That's a really good
mourning
point.
Somebody.
I never really thought of that ever with this. But that's maybe why it's so compelling, is because it's just like you feel that raw emotion.
Yeah. It's full of that. It's full of, you know, like he gives off those feelings of self-doubt. I mean, there's definite sadness in there as well. You know, I've got some very close people in my life right now who have just navigated, you know, the death of a family member through cancer, or some close people in my life right now that are navigating you know, actively kind of losing somebody, and it's super hard. And this, so this album really, you know, just, I really appreciate its openness, its honesty, the fact that like it's these really personal, autobiographical kind of, like I say, almost like journal entries. And it's just very real, which I think is not, is a commodity in today's kind of day and age.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, that's you nailed it on this one, Nate. Great pick.
Thanks, Mike.
So my pick is also, I believe the topic of the song is someone who passed away from cancer, but it's a little bit less about the actual grieving and more about the celebration of life. And the song is Long Live the Queen by Frank Turner.
Oh, nice.
So this is actually the first Frank Turner song I ever heard. Someone requested it when I was playing music at a bar. I had heard his name, and I just kind of thought, to be honest, and we've discussed this in the chat before, not specifically about Frank Turner, but how when punks do solo albums, there's like kind of like a thing.
Right.
There's a certain thing, like it can go either way, and a lot of times it goes the wrong way. It's just kind of like, oh, they grabbed a guitar.
See, I feel like Frank was one of those guys that I didn't know, like, was from a punk band. So I was trying to go the opposite way. Like, I heard this guy's acoustic stuff, and I was like, was he in a punk band? Like, how's he linked to punk rock?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know a ton about him, or I hadn't known much about his previous band either. But just like, I just was not, at the time, I wasn't in the mood for that kind of stuff in my life. So I had avoided it. But I played the song. It's rad. It's I like the message of it, and then I like went full on into Frank Turner. I went on a big Frank Turner kick for a while there.
Yeah,
because of that song. But I just always like the idea of that one last hurrah with a friend. I mean, it's probably not realistic to think you could break your friend out of the hospital or whatever and have one last thing. But it's a good way to think about if you know that you could share that time with someone, let them know how much you cared about them and whatnot. And even after death, if your friends could celebrate your life in that way, that you made that impact, that people would want to look at you for this like idealistic hope rather than anything else, rather than the sadness always. So yeah, that's the way I picked that one.
This is one of my favorite Frank Turner songs too. It's a great choice, Michael.
Thanks, Nathan.
New Halloween, Touche Amore, and
Frank Turner, Long Live the Queen.
whiskey when I got the call. Yeah, my friend Lex was lying in the hospital. She'd been pretty sick for about half a year, but it seemed like this time the end was drawing near. So dropped my plans and jumped the next London train. I found her laid up and in a lot of pain. Her eyes met mine and then I understood that a weather forecast wasn't looking too good. So sad and spun a story so a little while. Tried to raise a mood and tried to raise a smile, but she silenced all my ramblings with a shake of her head. Drew me close to listen, this is what she said now. You live to dance another day. It's just now you'll have to dance for the two of us. So stop looking so damn depressed. Sing with all your heart. The queen is dead, yeah. She told me she was sick of all the hospital food, of doctors, distant relatives draining her blood. She said, I know I'm dying, but I'm not finished just yet. Yeah, I'm dying for a drink and for a cigarette. So we hatched a plan to book ourselves a cheap hotel, the center of the city, and to raise some now lay waste to all the clubs. And then when everyone else is on their sleep, then we'll know we're good and done. You live to dance another day. It's just now you'll have to dance for the two of us. So stop looking so damn depressed. Sing with all your heart. The queen is dead. South London's not the same anymore. The queen is dead. The last of the greats has finally gone to bed. Well, I was working on some words when Sarah called me up. She said that Lex had gone to sleep and wasn't waking up. And even though I knew that there was nothing to be done, I felt bad for not being there. And now, well, she was gone. So tried to think what Lex would want me to do at times like this when I was feeling blue. So gathered up some friends to spread the sad, sad news. And we headed to the city for a drink or two. And we sang, we live to dance another day. It's just now we have to dance for one more of us. So stop looking so damn depressed. Sing with all our hearts. Long live the queen.
Well, Nathan, let's keep the sadness going.
Yeah. Where do we go from here, Mike?
We're gonna have to follow this topic up with like the most lame like songs about pizza or something like that, just to make up for this.
Decompress.
Yeah. Next episode, songs about pizza.
That's the last one of the season, Mike.
Okay, we'll have to work a little bit harder than that.
I feel like this is slowly turning in, well, like unintended, but slowly turning into the songs about cancer, because the next one is going down that same path.
All right.
But in a much, much different way. I would say in a odd celebratory way. So a band that arguably was not of this style of music, but also defined this style of music, which is odd. I'm going to stop you from guessing any further. The album is The Black Parade. The band is My Chemical Romance, and the song is Dead.
Nice.
Again, not the take on cancer that we've just heard. Yet a much different viewpoint. But like this album is just, I think as I get older, and that's not really typical for me, I don't think. As I get older, I start to appreciate kind of things of...
They were outside the bubble of the...
Yeah, let's say that. And this is like a very different album for My Chemical Romance. I mean, it's a rock opera, and like arguably that's a huge task and huge subject matter for a group of 20-something-year-olds to just kind of take on. You know, I think I can appreciate that more the older I get. So for the album, it centers around the character of the patient who is, you know, got a terminal illness, which I think we later find out is cancer. But this song is in such stark contrast to the whole idea of the album. You know, My Chemical Romance being kind of like an emo goth band, and then having this like incredibly like up and like celebratory and like fanfare vibe to this actually like really, you know, depressing storyline and depressing song. And it's over the top, but in such a great way. And like, you can't listen to this song and not just be completely sucked in.
I love My Chemical Romance. Like I've said it before, like I'm a huge apologist to them.
Yeah.
But they got like, just think about when you said that, like just think about how they transitioned from like to that album and pulled it off. Like that's a big feat. There's like huge rock bands that have tried that and fucked it up royally. Like,
totally.
And they nailed it. Like that's the album people know of. Like, maybe not someone that knew their other albums, but like that's the album a lot of people know them for. Like it's insane.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like I think they could have just taken it on, and I think the older that album got, it could have been more highly respected as the years went on, because it is such a huge undertaking, right? But to not only do it, but to do it so well. And then like to have, you know, like the Black Parade became its own thing, like its own band and all this, right? Like it's wild, man. And again, like the age of these guys when they created this.
It's phenomenal. Again, I like them a lot. I think I like them even more now than I did when they came out. And I find myself listening to them a lot. So,
well, maybe they'll get back together, Mike.
They're doing those reunion shows.
Well, are they happening? Are they active? Like, are those shows rescheduled now?
Yeah, I think so. They had them rescheduled for COVID, then canceled again, and then rescheduled. Like I think the intent is to go out on tour and do it. So
I was thinking like bands like that were like, you know, getting ready to do a reunion after so many years, and then COVID hit. Like, were they going to still do it, or was it just like, nah, you know what? That was a flash in the pan, crazy
it could
idea.
Be. I feel like they are going to do it, because I think they're not. I don't know if they're a band that broke up on bad terms. I think they just had so much on the go, like writing comics. Like the two brothers write comics and TV shows, and like have other bands going, and the Frank or whatever, he does like so many bands too, and I don't know. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But
time will tell, Mike.
Only time will
tell.
Who knows what's going on? I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I decided, because I was talking about death, there's also the whole ghost element of death.
Right.
So, I mean, the obvious thing is you could pick an Alkaline Trio song here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty. They got a lot of songs about death, or like a Misfit song or something like that. But I went with House Ghost, which is a band. If you listen to my Best of 2020 episode, I brought up how much I love this one-off album. So I picked the song House Ghost off House Ghost by House Ghost, which I think is fun to say.
It's so lazy.
Yeah. So, and what's more about death than a house ghost? Plus, it's kind of Halloween's coming up. So I really love this album. If you like this song, you really should check it out. That's my less dramatic song for the episode.
It better be about a house ghost, with the amount of house ghosts in that entire preamble.
It's not really about house ghosts.
It's about a cat.
It's about a cat on a job site. Thought he saw a house mouse, but called it a house ghost. But it wasn't really a house mouse. It was more of like a work mouse.
You're stretching now, Mike.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Dead, My Chemical Romance, and
House Ghost. House Ghost.
One more time.
House Ghost, House Ghost, House Ghost.
And if your heart stops beating, I'll be here wondering, did you get what you deserve? The ending of your life, and if you get to heaven, I'll be here waiting, baby. Did you get what you deserve? The ending, if your exactly what you planned, and wouldn't it be great if we were dead? Oh, dead. Tongue-tied and oh so squeamish. You never fell in love. Did you get what you deserve? The ending of your life. And if you get to heaven, I'll be here waiting, baby. You get what you deserve. The ending if your life won't wait, then your heart can't take it. Have you heard the news that you're dead? No one ever had much nice to say. I think they never liked you anyway. You're dead. Me from the hospital bed. Wouldn't it be great to take a pistol by the hand? And wouldn't it be great if we were dead? And in my honest observation, during this operation, found a complication in your heart so loud. 'Cause now you maybe just 2 weeks to live.
Thank you to everyone for listening and sticking around with us. Thanks for all the awesome lists and feedbacks we got from the last episode. I hope we get some more lists for this one again. If you want to check us out online, our site is highfives.ca. Our Instagram is @highfivepodcast. If you're super brave, you can get in touch via our direct messages and join our High Fives WhatsApp chat. You get to find out all sorts of interesting things in there, like when it snows in Calgary, and that's about it. What we're eating for dinner.
Things you can't find anywhere else.
Yeah, anywhere else. It's the real details. But yeah, we love interacting in there. It's a lot of fun. Just talking music and whatever else. If you've sent us an email, I've been a little bit slow answering emails back to bands and stuff like that. But it's not that I'm ignoring you guys. I'm sorry. And just one last thing, again, because we're dealing with death, I kind of feel that we should mention, if you're struggling with anything, there's always somewhere out that wants to listen. Please make the effort to seek that out. Again, it's easy for us to say this, but I promise you, even if you think that no one cares, there's someone who does care about you. So please take that chance if you're struggling with something.
That is important.
That is important, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. The next pick, I'm going to take you through a little bit of my thought process, Mike. This is a behind the podcast,
Ooh.
right? It's behind
You
the
don't do this,
podcast
Nate.
moment. No, this is a gift. This is a gift.
I like it.
When we started talking about this topic, this was one of the first songs that came to mind, was Eulogy by the Flatliners. And I love that song so much. And it's obviously about losing a friend and kind of keeping their name alive. And just everything about that song is so great. And whenever they play it live, the whole place just becomes electric. It's one of those songs. And I was sure I'd played it before. And I went through the list and I hadn't. And I was like,
Really?
okay, great.
I thought for sure you had.
Not according to the lists.
Well, the lists don't lie. Just like my hips.
But I did play a Flatliners song last episode from that album.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided against it.
Interesting.
But it's a great song, and a quick shout out to the Flatliners for a great song. But then we started talking about 1 week records in the chat. Shout out to the chat. And Chris Cresswell has a solo album that's on 1 week records. And he has this really beautiful song called On the Day That You Died. And I like how you often find a way to kind of fit in a nice little, like, you know, what did you call it last time? Not a ripper, not a, what did you decide
banger?
on?
I can't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't a banger. It was
a cuddler.
I don't know what you called it.
I think that's what I said.
You,
Somebody else, I believe it was Justin, wrote something funnier about it, but I think I called it a cuddler.
I like how you end on a softer song sometimes.
Uh-huh.
So this is my softer song, and I feel like this is kind of the song that you kind of expect, you know, from a collection of songs about death, about losing somebody, about grieving, and it's non-specific, but it is very personal. Non-specific in the way that I don't think you know, like who the person is to Chris, but like I assume that it's a personal story, just from, you know, kind of the lyrics and the tone of the song, and it really just does give me the feels every time I hear it. So this is a great album. If you haven't heard it, Chris Cresswell, 1 week records, go check it out.
Nate, I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right.
Did the Flatliners break up, or is it just like, have they just kind of dissipated? Chris is doing his own thing and sort of
no,
hot water music?
I think they're still together. They still put out like stuff on their social media, like as a band, as a collective.
Oh, there you go.
So I think they're still going. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. My pick. So I kind of said this before, that I've never really dealt with death. So a lot of my death comes from movies and TVs and songs and that kind of stuff, which is sad. It sounds like I'm like Bill Murray's character in Scrooged, but it's not like to that extent. But at the same time,
I don't think it's sad. I think it's fortunate. You
Yeah,
know, it's
it is
fortunate to
fortunate.
not have to, you know, go through that. I mean, we're all going to go through it at some point in our lives, right? But if you can, you know, stay it for as long as possible, there's nothing sad about that.
Yeah, sorry. It was just like the invoking of emotion comes from
Sure.
how I've seen characters portray it or written about or whatever. So I kind of went with a song that deals with that. And this is, I think, and again, I might be completely making this up in my head, but the next song I picked used a sound clip from one of the first times I can remember being sad about death. And it's kind of doubtful that I remember the original showing, because I just don't think I was old enough. And it probably was in reruns, because it still reruns. Or maybe it's just remembering my mom explained to me what that meant when it happened. But the song is Leveled Again. The artist is Dikembe. The sound clip comes from Sesame Street. And I just remember, like, it's the dealing of
Oh yeah, Mr. Hooper.
Yeah, Mr. Hooper's death. Like, do you remember that as a kid? Are we too? I just don't know if I've made it up in my head or not.
I don't remember it as a kid, but there's a documentary out there right now called like The Street Gang or something like that, and it's all about how Sesame Street came together, like how it was actually thought up and why and how it came to life.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was like the late 60s that Sesame Street started.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was early on, like within the first 10 years at least, that Mr. Hooper died. Because I don't really remember him as a character other than like hearing about him. But they show this scene where like Big Bird is dealing with like Mr.
I remember
Hooper's
that vividly.
death.
Like I could still feel like where, like in my head, I remember where I was sitting and watching it, like in our house.
We could have seen it.
Yeah, I mean,
because
Sesame Street replays still now. So
sure, exactly.
So I could have seen it, and I just remember my mom having that conversation with me about it. And I just, when I heard that clip in that song, I was instantly sad. I was like, oh man, I remember this.
It's incredibly powerful, that scene, you know, like seeing it as an adult now. And then in this documentary, you know, watching the cast members talk about like why they approached it the way that they did and why they chose Big Bird to be the one to kind of start asking those questions. Like it's really like there's a great depth to that whole decision-making process and like what that probably did for kids, you know, like obviously, you know, it created a sadness for you, right? And I think it probably did that for a lot of kids, but it probably also gave that foundation for understanding really what death was, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember having that conversation with my mom. So, I mean, it created a conversation, which I guess is the beauty of a show like Sesame Street, because it does create those conversations. Or like when there are, as horrible as it is to say, there's teaching moments in pop culture sometimes that go that extra mile. Like I would say that there's like Dwayne on Degrassi. Well, most of the original Degrassi, but Dwayne specifically like is a big teaching moment. Like at that time, like we didn't know much about HIV to begin with, and then to have a straight jock get HIV for having promiscuous sex, it wasn't like, it was a big deal, right?
Right.
Things like that are like good teaching moments. So yeah, that's why I picked the song, just because, I mean, just that clip automatically brings me back. And I think it's done so well.
On the day that you died, Chris Cresswell and
Dikembe leveled again. Stay cool, be excellent to each other.
On the day that you died, in between silver wings, on the day that you died, my helpless voice cries as you fade. On the day that you died, the earth was cold and gray. On the day that you died, I sat and hid my face. On the day that you died, smallest sound would rumble, and my eyes will never truly dry. On the day that you died, oh, my heart stood still. On the day that
treasure such a simpler time. Young and bold, a light that's slowly fading. Who's right to question why? We inflate our innocence and so swiftly some sights leveled again. In eternity, who's counting? So I'll call you the culprit. The damage is done, complicated, I'm sure, but forgiveness always finds a way to run. You burdened mine, maybe could have healed just a little time. So we'll seek out some closure for the ones who never said goodbye.
Well, it won't be the same. It'll never be the same around here without him. But you know something? We can all be very happy that we had a chance to be with him. And to know to love him a lot when he was here.
And we still have our memories of him.
Yeah, our memories. Right. But memories, that's how I do this picture. From memory. And we can remember him and remember him and remember him. Not just we want to. I don't like it makes me sad.
We all feel
I moonlight as you on the internet.
It's called catfishing, Mike.
Oh, it's how I call it moonlighting.
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the looks that drives a girl wild. I've got the moves that really move 'em. I said chill up and down their spine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot. I make them shiver. Their knees get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk. They hear me talk. I make them feel like they're on cloud nine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. It's your heart-eyed girls. Hands off the merchandise. I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the looks that drives a girl wild. I've got the moves that really move 'em. I said chill up and down their spine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot. I make them shiver. Their knees get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk. They hear me talk. I make them feel like they're on cloud nine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.